As people, we need laws, rules, regulations, traditions in order for us to be civil to one another. It is important. In our religion and in our politics, the rules and traditions are there for a reason. We may argue with them, we may disagree with them, and we can do that, but nonetheless, we realize as a people, as the human being, as animals being human beings, that we still need this structure so that we do not just collapse into chaos. So even as we, as Catholic Christians, we come here and we come to this Mass, and this Mass has a structure to it that we're familiar with. And it's important to us, because if some people started doing other things, it would just create some civil unrest among us and not be proper. Now, with that being said, therefore, kind of a long preamble there, we need to go to Jerusalem and we need to talk to Herod, because it's important. Because at first, because we've been celebrating Christmas and we have this Christmas spirit and we've gone through the reading so much and we know the story so well, and we kind of romanticize the story so well that sometimes we can look at the story and either dismiss it or saying, oh, that's terrible what they've done. And before we get all high and righteous, self-righteous, over Herod and how he acted, which was reprehensible, but still nonetheless we have to take a look at Jerusalem and Herod. Jerusalem, the center of Jewish worship. Herod, who was in charge. And the people may or may not have liked him, but nonetheless it was the political system of the time. People were comfortable, and Jerusalem was going about its thing. In other words, everything was kind of, kind of okay for a while. Balanced, if you will. Until today we celebrate the fact that 3 non-Jewish magi walk into Jerusalem, walk up to the king, and say to Herod, we are here to do homage to the new king of the Jews. Now, obviously, we know that you just don't say that to the king or to anybody in charge. It is unseemly, and it probably is not nice, and it's not something that Herod wants to hear. And I don't blame him. If you are the king and all power resides in you, you don't want anybody challenging that. I understand that. And as a matter of fact, if these 3 magi continue on, it says, well, this king is going to do this, he's going to change this, he's going to change that. It says, no. Don't want that kind of change. And I understand why Herod reacts the way he does, and why maybe Jerusalem reacts the same. Because, let's bring it forward then. Okay, we've been in the past, let's bring it forward. We, as the community of the CSC, Washington University here. So we're sitting here, suppose it's not a math situation because it's going to make it a little goofy if I try to put it in a math situation. But nonetheless, suppose we're all here for a meeting for some reason. And, okay, 3 strangers, 3 non-believers walk in here. And they say to us, we are here to proclaim that from here on out, there is a new way to worship. Now, this being Washington University, we try to be inclusive. It's the name of the game in the 2000s. And this guy would expect it from this community, trying real hard. So we're going to be inclusive. Okay. And we let them talk for a while. And they keep talking about this and that and this and that. How things are going to be this way and that way. That are different than the way we do things now. So we thought, okay, this being Washington University campus, then therefore, explain your reason. what is your theology? And then they say, we're following a star. Get the hell out of here. We don't need to hear that. So much for this inclusivity of Washington University. All of y'all would say that. I know it. We'll listen for a while until they say, we're following a star. The star kind of talked to us and told us to come here and speak to you. And then, obviously, we would dismiss them, and rightly so, because it does not fit into the structure. We as Christians have a structural way of thinking. We as Catholic Christians really have a structural way of thinking. And it is the way we look at reality, and it's the way we measure reality. And anything else that kind of challenges that, dismiss. It's dismissed. You're crazy. So, we go back now to Herod in Jerusalem. Now suddenly, their reaction seems to be sort of kind of reasonable if we look at it from their perspective in the way I just gave it to you. Prophet Isaiah, rise up in splendor, Jerusalem, your light has come, the glory of the Lord shines upon you. But I'm living in Jerusalem, and I can see just fine. I don't need light. I'm fine. Things are okay. I don't need to rise up in splendor. I would prefer to stay the way things are. Therefore, the challenge, the first challenge here. The challenge of the Magi is that God comes to us in forms and ways that just do not make sense. Absolutely not. If God said or came in the form of three strangers saying that they followed a star, I would say, and I still say, that makes absolutely no sense at all. I can't wrap my brain around it. It's okay, it's nice romantically, great poetry, great kind of almost kiddie story, if you will, but reasonable, and reasonable is important, doesn't make sense, doesn't fit into my structure of the universe. And yet, that is a challenge. The Magi challenge us today, and God challenges us today, saying, I will come to you however I want to come to you. I will reveal myself however I want to reveal myself. And I can say, it doesn't make sense, I don't understand. And God says, I don't care if you don't understand. My life doesn't revolve around you trying to understand. Your job is to accept. Oh, how hard is that? That means I have to start breaking down some of my own structures and ways of thinking that I do not like to do because I am comfortable. Structure gives me comfort, and the Magi and a star make me uncomfortable. That's the one challenge. And then I'd like to leave with another more sinister challenge, if you if you will, from Herod. Everything I've been talking about now is kind of like benign ignorance. Comfortable in my own structure, and when things come along, I don't like it. But if we really look back at the story, it seems as Herod knew something was going on. And he called all the smart people together, and all the smart people said, yeah, something's going to happen in Bethlehem, and yeah, this, and yeah, that, and here is some explanation. Ooh, I don't like that. And we've got to be careful here. In the sense is that sometimes when God appears to us or God comes into our life, we're kind of deep aware of it. But I can hide behind the structure and say, well, I just can't do that. I'm busy doing this. I can't do that. I'm busy doing this. And, this is important to me, what I'm doing right here. And yet, all along, there's a call. But I hide in my comfortableness, and I do not answer it. Or, worse yet, I can work against it, as Herod did. Now, that's even a worse challenge. But nonetheless, Herod and the Magi speak to us today. Herod should have joined the Magi. Herod should have looked up and saw the star. For us, be careful, every one of us, when we get so busy about how we think the world should be and how we think everyone else should be, and as we try to get into everybody else's business and try to make the world in our own image, we have to be aware that sometimes God comes along. And do we have the courage then to put down what we want to do? And do we have the courage to follow these strange magi or follow a star to who knows where and to who knows who we will see and what will happen? But according to the Magi today, they say, have faith. If you follow us and you follow that star, believe me, good things will happen to you. And you will also have the ability to love more deeply and to change the world.